Parkcast, the UK's original theme park podcast.
Welcome back to Parkcast, Park fans. We're a podcast for theme park fans, and we're here every week just talking about things going on in the theme park industry, particularly in the UK, of which there is some very exciting things coming up. And we've had an exciting month, really, in the UK theme park industry. So if you've missed any of our previous episodes, go back and have a listen to some of them. We're covering just about everything that we've heard about. There's no Kev this week. He's over in Disneyland Paris, but I am joined again by Kip Hakes.
Hello!
Who's fresh from an adventure to a UK theme park, and that is going to be the focus of today's episode. We're, of course, talking about Paultons Park, a park which has just come on leaps and bounds in the last few years. It had a very exciting opening just a couple of weeks ago, and they've got huge plans for the future. And Kip, you went along to that weekend where they unveiled all of this. I didn't, so I am going to get all the information from you, and we can learn together in today's episode. So the event you went to, it was the opening of Ghostly Manor, right? So that's
that's it.
Dark ride. And did you got invited to that event? Just to be clear, I didn't get invited, so this isn't an ad in any way, but you did get invited.
Yeah, so basically last year they ran their first theme park Superfans Day, and then this year they ran it again and invited more creators. But the good thing about it was it wasn't just all about people with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and followers. They sort of concentrated on people who were just genuinely theme park fans. And so you had creators there with sort of hundreds of followers and, you know, wouldn't often get invited to these kinds of things. And it was actually sort of fairly, I think the invitation was fairly open. I think if you got in touch with the Paultons PR, they were happy to sort of add you onto the list. So it was quite an inclusive event, which was really, really positive to see. And I think a lot of theme parks could maybe learn from it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, maybe I should have got myself on the list.
Yeah.
I was having a very much a theme park free weekend that weekend.
I saw you doing your gardening.
I went, hey, car boot sale. I love a car boot sale. I was all over it. I didn't get anything though. But yeah, I'd been to like Epic a couple of weeks before. I'd been to Phantasialand. It's just been a month, and you know, I needed a break. But I knew there were plenty of people going who would be able to relay the information, and you are one of those. So Ghostly Manor is a new interactive family dark ride.
Yes,
it's the first in the UK.
Yeah, so it very much gave me sort of vibes of Mouse au Chocolat at Phantasialand.
Yeah.
So it's very sort of screen led, and you know, it's a sort of shooty dark ride. But I think it's absolutely fascinating what they've done with it. It is such a clever ride system. It's a Mac ride system, and it has got a really quite a small footprint. And I don't want to break the illusion too much, but essentially you're sort of moving around in a carriage that sort of zips you into different scenes. And it's essentially you're sort of going round in a circle, but because you're going forwards and backwards and facing in different directions, you sort of see these different scenes and they just kind of come at you, and there's sort of big areas with huge, big screens that you can shoot at. And it is just a lot of fun. And having screens like that and being digital like that means that in future, if they wanted to change the ride slightly, it would just be a case of updating what's on the screens. There are sort of more traditional dark ride props and things and animatronics and whatnot, but yeah, because it's so screen led, there is a sort of opportunity there for them to update it as well, which I think is really smart.
Yeah, they do really, I think about their installs, and we've been watching the construction of this for a while, and I think firstly it was brilliant that we had a UK theme park investing in a dark ride.
Absolutely,
because we don't really see enough of that for some reason.
No, for a country where it rains a lot, we don't seem to like indoor rides at all, which is just mad. But yeah, it is just an amazing ride that takes up very little space. And it would be awesome to see more of these in other UK parks. You know, they could easily do something like that in the Gangster Granny space at Alton Towers.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite a small footprint, but also just outside the theming as well. It's just fantastic. It's got a lovely theme queue line. It's just so nice. And I think my problem is now that Paultons have actually ruined every other theme park in the UK because it's just insane how good they are. Like you walk around, everything's clean, everything's
Mm,
tidy. There was a man going around cleaning the benches. There's like so many benches for people to sit down. You can sit down. There's benches to eat your lunch if you want to. They're not constantly ramming terrible food down your throats. You know, families like to take picnics and things with them to save a bit of money, and they are well up for that. And everywhere is just so clean and tidy. And I really feel like that they are a one to watch in the UK. I think everyone's getting really excited about Universal coming, but I think Poltons are really onto something good there. It's just a fascinating little park, and I would say right now it's my favourite in the UK.
wow. I have heard a few people say similar actually after their visit a couple of weekends ago that yeah it's just blown them away, and we've talked about Paultons a lot and said it's a really lovely little park. It's great if you've got a young family, you know, there's so much there for them, but actually now it's sounding like it's great even if you're just a theme park enthusiast, or even if you've got slightly older children who don't mind missing the big thrills just as a day out.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
really nice
exactly.
place to go.
They were sort of talking about their demographic, and they were saying that obviously they are a family theme park, but the sort of traditional family is changing, and it's not, you don't always necessarily have like two or three children exactly the same age. You know, we've got blended families now,
Yeah.
and people who have children at different times in their lives, you know. So there's sort of like there's 10 years difference between my two kids. So what they want from a theme park is very different. And so it's just going to show that they're sort of building up the portfolio and making it accessible for the smallest, but also the biggest. And also, just because you're big, it doesn't mean that you want to go on absolutely terrifying rides.
Mm.
You know, that's the sort of thing that us theme park enthusiasts always sort of assume, that everything has to be the biggest, the tallest, the fastest. But it doesn't, and not everyone wants that. And so they are sort of catering. They're being really canny and catering for such a wide range of people. It's just really positive.
And they are still family run, aren't they?
Yes, yes, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
You
And I
know, we
wonder if that plays into it, the fact that they're not, it's not some multi-million pound conglomerate which has got assets everywhere. It's like all of their focus is on this park, and they really, really care about this park because it's
yeah,
precious to them.
yeah, exactly. And they were sort of very. I loved how open and honest they were about it, because for those of you who don't know, they've spent a lot of money in the last year installing solar panels across the park. So they've got like a sort of carport area right at the park entrance. I think that's where the disabled parking is, and there's carports just stacked with solar panels, and they've installed them on lots of the ride buildings as well, because they openly said in their presentation that sort of a few years ago their energy bills were sort of, I think it was something like £300,000 a year, and with the fuel prices and energy prices going up, it went up to 1 million sort of pretty much straight away. So
Wow.
and like, what other theme park tells people that? That's mad.
Yeah.
And so they just thought, well, we'll invest in renewable and take advantage of all the sun and all the sort of essentially dead space on top of buildings and generate electricity. And they said that the energy that's generated on a good day from what they've got so far will just power the entire area where the Storm Chaser roller coaster is. They don't need to use the grid. And so
Wow.
he said, like a sunny day like we went on a couple of weeks ago, that it's all being powered just by solar. And you think that is amazing. That's so positive. But yet they were sort of so honest about it, and I loved that. That was so good.
It is definitely something that we've seen, I think, through the construction of Ghostly Manor. I have never seen a park do so many updates about a ride under construction as Paultons did. There was like every week, that they're front and center, and I think it was their ops director.
Yeah, Lawrence.
It was one of the family. He's there on a video every week, going, "This is what's happened this week. This is where we're up to,"
Yeah.
which is great for us as nerdy theme park fans. But it's also just great for anyone who's maybe interested to go to the park, who hasn't been to the park, because one of those videos at some point will pop up on their feed.
Yeah.
If you throw enough at the internet,
Yeah.
at some point you'll get seen by somebody. And I think a lot of parks forget that, and they might do one video about something and think, well, there we go, I've done a video, and not enough people see it, so the message doesn't get out there. But Paultons were really, really hammering that message that they were building something, and I think it worked. I mean, it was on my feed pretty much constantly.
Yeah.
But that openness and that desire to talk to your audience and your fans and your guests, I think, like you say, does really set them apart. It's something that we don't see a lot of anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of hails back a bit to like when our friend Francis Jackson was was doing the update videos when there were sort of things going on at Alton Towers. It's just so nice to be open and share things. And you know, when you think about other things as well, they offer free parking. There's no parking charges there. They sort of very clearly show that on their website, and they say you don't need fast track here because our queues are so small. And they were absolutely right. You know, they were launching a brand new ride, and it's a day where the theme park will probably be at its busiest. And I don't think we queued more than 10, maybe 15 minutes on anything. And we didn't go, we sort of had a little wander around Peppa Pig World, but we went on all the big rides, and we easily could have done multiple re-rides, but we just sort of took it slowly. But you don't need fast track because they're just smashing people through the queues. The operations are just so smooth. And I think I saw one ride closure briefly, and that was it. It was just going so smoothly. And it, like I said, I think it has spoiled other theme parks for me, because you don't need to buy a fast track to have a good day. You don't need to pay for parking when you leave. Everything's running. It's all clean and tidy. The staff are fantastic. The food and drink offering is just amazing. And it's so cool just how well they've done there. It makes me really happy and positive.
And I think we all need a bit of positivity sometimes.
Absolutely.
As enthusiasts. We get caught in the negative cycle. And it's interesting, a lot of what you're saying was echoed by my guest on the podcast last week, Mark Shaw, who went and turned around Adventure World over in Perth. And he said the same thing when he went there. The thing he focused on was getting operations right, because you don't want guests getting fed up. You don't want guests seeing breakdowns. So that was really important. Customer service is the huge thing for him. If you can get your staff loving their job and loving their work, that's going to imprint on your guests. And he specifically mentioned food and drink as being really, really important to coming away with a good theme park experience. And it's something he invested in, and that paid off massively for that park. So I think it's really reassuring, actually, that we've got a park in the UK that seems to be following that model as well, and really putting an emphasis on getting those little details right. And yeah, you haven't got the massive 15, 20, 25 million pound roller coasters there, but you are concentrating on the little details that are actually going to give people a really nice day out. And they're going to grow from that. I mean, I remember Paultons when I was a kid. It was literally basically a traveling fun fair in a country park. It was, it was tiny. And to see where they've come to over the last few years is amazing. And like you said, I don't think they've got a problem. When Universal come, I think their offering is going to be so different.
Yes.
That they will absolutely stand on their own 2 feet. And they'll do really, really well with that. Whilst you were at the event, it wasn't just all about Ghostly Manor, though. They gave you like behind the scenes stuff as well, didn't they? Like closer than I've ever seen anyone get to roller coasters. I've seen people hanging off the rails of roller coasters, obviously not operating ones.
Yeah, no, it was insane. So basically they had, I think it was Cobra, Flight of the Pterosaur, and Storm Chaser. And they basically said, okay, we've got a bit of time now. Just pick one of these roller coasters that you want to go and look behind the scenes for, and just go over there. And in some ways it was wild, because it wasn't really organized at all. You just sort of went there and you wandered around. And so we just sort of wandered into the maintenance shed of Storm Chaser, and there's a complete train there. There's wheels and boxes of Mac labeled nuts and bolts, and sort of plans and sort of specs and things for the ride, and you could just pick them up. You could take pictures, And when we were upstairs in the ride station, they had opened up the operator cabin, and one of the tech team was in there, and we were sort of a bit sheepish, really, because it just felt really weird. And we sort of said to him, "Is it okay if we take a picture of the operator panel?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, why not? Take a picture." Because like people who've been on the Alton Towers and sort of Thorpe Park behind the scenes stuff know that you can't do that. They go, "Well, look, there's a control panel, but you can't take any picture." No, no, put your phone away. But he was just like, "Yeah, fine." So I was just like, snap, snap. People were making videos. It was just insane how open they were. And it just made everyone just seem so happy. There was no sort of, "Oh, don't touch that. Oh, no, can't." No, it was just fantastic. And I mean, I think if they offered that to sort of regular day guests, I think that would be a really awesome sort of avenue of getting some income in and getting a bit more interest, because they were just so open. But also, it wasn't just that. I didn't know this, but you can actually go any day, and if you've got a chest mounted GoPro or action camera or anything, you can go on a ride with it. There's no forms to
Okay.
sign. There's
Yeah.
no there's no sort of getting in trouble. There's no snotty emails from the PR people later.
I mean, who's
Yeah,
that happened to?
I
I
don't know. But yeah, that they even say on the website, like when you look at all the rides, chest mounted GoPros are allowed. And so although it felt like we were getting this really kind of exclusive opportunity to film, you can go there any day of the week. So long as it's mounted on your chest, they don't like you holding things,
Yeah.
which is absolutely fine. And a couple of the operators said to me, "Can you just show me that your mount's tight?" And I sort of gave it a little wiggle, and they're like, "Perfect." And that was it. And it's just so insane how open they are. And obviously it helps them because we're making content, we're sharing it, we're getting the word out there about Polton. So it's sort of it's good for everyone. We get the content, they get the people seeing their rides.
Yeah,
Win-win.
absolutely. The feeling that I'm getting is it sounds very much like when we talk about the mainland Europe parks that we know and love. It feels like a bit of that experience where it's almost like, and I don't think we look back through rose tinted glasses, but it's the theme park experience that we knew and loved growing up. And
Yeah.
everything was very relaxed and joyful. And it didn't feel like an effort to go around them. And yeah, look, every park's got their own rules. And if a park says you can't film on a ride, then it's their prerogative to come up with that rule. But I do wonder a lot of the time why that rule exists
Yeah.
when clearly other parks do allow properly mounted on ride filming, GoPros, whatever. It can't be a safety thing, because if it was a safety thing, that would come from the manufacturer, and that would mean you'd never be able to do it on any ride. So
Exactly.
I do sometimes wonder why these rules get put in place.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really understand, because so while I was waiting to go on Velociraptor, I was just standing in the queue, and they were sending out a train, and a bloke got out his phone to film, and like the ride operator was shouting at him, "Put your phone away." So, they don't want people just holding their phones up, but
Which makes sense. Yeah,
yeah,
perfect sense.
obviously, because there could be a small jolt and that phone could go flying. But yeah, they were just so happy and cool about it. And yeah, it just makes the whole thing a lot easier. And even like the ride staff as well. Quite a few of the rides I went on, I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, but I'd like to film this. Can I sit on the front row? Is that okay?" And I was fully expecting them to go, "No, go there." And they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, you can go on the front row of the next train." And it's like, amazing. So I've got all this awesome footage that I will treasure and share, because it's just perfect. You can't
Yeah.
get much better than that. And the ride staff was so good as well. There was on one of the rides we went on, there was a little girl celebrating her birthday, and the ride operator said, "Oh, we've got a birthday girl on the front of the train. Everyone cheer for the birthday girl." And my wife Vicky said, to the ride operator, it's not really my birthday, but can you say it's my birthday so everyone cheers? And he was like, yeah, yeah. And he was like, oh, and we've got another birthday girl at the front of the train. Everyone cheer the birthday girl. And it's just silly things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just fun and joyful, like you said.
Yeah, and it's bridging the line. It's not staff and guests, and the two things don't meet anywhere in the middle. It's we're all here at the park, all having a lovely day out together, and yeah, that's really really nice to hear. For anyone who's not been to Paultons or not been to Paultons for a while, obviously we hear about Peppa Pig World a lot, and that's
Yeah.
one area of the park, and that's like I guess it's like Thomasland at Drayton Manor. It's all very much preschool focused, and that's had a lot of press, and that's probably what really set Paultons on this path, which it's now going down to being, one of, if not the best UK theme park. But what else is there? Because I think some of the other stuff gets overlooked. Obviously, so we've talked. Ghostly Manor is their new attraction.
Yep.
What does the other half of the park look like?
Well, so they've got sort of a dinosaur themed area where they've got the Velociraptor and the Flight of the Pterosaur, and there's a small log flume. It's a bit like that tiny one that they've got at Chessington.
Yeah.
And there's like a sort of traditional cars going gently round a track vibe that's sort of dinosaur themed. I think they're Jeeps. The area, which I guess we'll come on to, which is it's a bit of a weird part of the park where it's sort of right on the edge of it. And yeah, that part does feel a little bit lost, where they've got Cobra, they've got Magma, and they've got Edge. So Magma's like a sort of small drop tower ride. It's a bit like Croc Drop at Chessington. I think it might be the same ride system. And then the Edge is like a sort of disco ride that lots of theme parks have got. Yeah, that part of the park does feel a little bit sad and lost, but obviously that is the area that they're kind of concentrating on next. And there is work there on a brand new coaster. And yeah, I think they're sort of fixing the problems with that area by turning it into Valgard, the land of the Vikings, which just looked mental. And again, a step in the sort of more thrilling area, but not terrifying.
Yeah.
And not being the biggest and scariest.
There's Tornado Springs as well, isn't there?
Yeah, Tornado Springs. Oh, Tornado Springs is just an area that sort of puts other theme parks in the UK to shame. It is just so beautifully themed, and they've got Storm Chaser, which just stands there and just looks incredible. It's a fantastic spinning coaster, and I think because we're sort of used to Dragon's Fury and Spinball at Chessington and Alton, they're obviously essentially the same ride system, same rides. But because this is a max spinning coaster, it just felt so completely different. I think that's my favorite spinning coaster that I've been on, because it's just so smooth. I think the problem with Dragon's Fury and Spinball Wizard, they just feel, because they've got such sort of tall structures, they just feel a bit rickety, and you look at them and they sway and you're like, oh God, that doesn't look good. but they're obviously perfectly safe. But yeah, the Storm Chaser is just so smooth and lovely, and although you spin, you're not spinning so much that you come off of it feeling absolutely sick and dizzy. I went on Cyclonator, which is essentially a big gyro string, which is a big gyro swing, which is similar to what Blackpool are getting next year, obviously on a slightly smaller scale than that. But I went on that. That's a really good fun ride, and that is in Tornado Springs as well. And then they've got like a smaller kids coaster there as well. So everyone's kind of covered, really. All the boxes are ticked.
Sounds like there's a lot of attractions kind of packed into quite a small area, which is great.
Yeah, it is, but equally you never feel, because that's like one of my problems with Thomasland at Drayton. It's very sort of, some of it is very sort of compact and squeezed in. But although everything's in a relatively small footprint, you don't feel like everything's on top of each other, which is really positive. You do get a fair few steps in, but I'd say it kind of gives me vibes of Thorpe Park, where everything's fairly close together, but it doesn't feel like everything's on top of each other, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, totally. You mentioned it already, but obviously, and a big part of what was talked about when you went down is their new area. It's Valgard, land of the Vikings.
Yes.
And like you say, construction's already started on that, and this isn't due to open until next year. And I think that
Yeah.
there's longer term plans after that as well.
Yes.
And they did you like an event to announce this whole
Yes.
area, didn't they?
Yeah, so we got a presentation, and but again, that was all streamed on YouTube as well, so people who weren't there could watch along live exactly what we were seeing. And so, yeah, they've announced that they are currently building Drakon, which is a Viking-themed Gerstlauer Eurofighter roller coaster, and they're going to be retheming Cobra, which is their bobsleigh ride. That's going to be renamed as Raven, and basically Drakon and Raven will sort of interlink slightly. I think you'll fly through Raven as you're coming down off the first drop of Drakon, which is just so cool.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, even though there's this massive construction going on, they're actually keeping the rides in that area open until the last day.
What an idea.
Well, yeah, exactly. Hello, Chessington. So there are sort of big construction fences, and sort of getting to that area does feel a little bit confusing, especially to a guest going there for the first time or not overly familiar with the park. But they're still running the rides, so you can get some really good views of the construction from all the other rides and still ride them, which is just fantastic. But yeah, they also shared with us that Magma, the sort of spinning drop tower ride, that is leaving the park. They're taking that out, but that is going to another UK theme park.
Oh.
But they didn't say where. They said they'd leave it up to the theme park, the other theme park, to announce where that's going to.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought maybe it could be going to somewhere like Pleasurewood Hills, maybe.
Yeah.
Because they need flat rides. They
Yeah.
don't have anything. Oh, well, they do have a sort of slightly bouncy drop towery ride, so maybe that, but I've got no insider information. But yeah, so Magma is leaving, and Edge, which is the sort of disco ride, that is moving out of Valgard, and I think they said it's going to be sort of on the boundary of it, so it's not moving very far, but that's not going to be Viking themed or anything like that.
That's interesting actually, because I was thinking Drayton Manor's got a Viking themed disco, so is Plopsaland. So it's probably the first non-Viking theme. Actually, Blackpool's isn't Viking themed, is it?
No.
But yeah, nice that it's not another Viking themed one.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's good that they're sort of retaining some existing rides. It's good that they're sort of moving on things that don't fit in or don't work for them, rather than, just trying to make a Viking themed drop tower. And also they're getting an I think it's art engineering wild swing, and it's going to be called Vilsving. And that is essentially sort of a bit like a top spin, but it doesn't go upside down. It just looks like a sort of giant swing, and it goes up and over, but it doesn't twist you around or anything like that. So again, that's designed for its market. I think they said for that the height restriction was either 90 centimeters or 1 meter, so it is suitable for smaller children and designed not to be terrifying for smaller children. But it's just thrilling, and I've watched videos of them, and they do look like a lot of fun. It's sort of, I guess it's a bit like if Rush and a top spin had a baby, it's just kind of that sort of thrilling swinging sensation, but a bit of up and over as well, but no sort of tipping over and looking down at the floor. So yeah, I think it's really good. They also mentioned that Drakon, the Gerstlauer, is going to have they think at the moment, a 1.25 meter height restriction. They obviously need to get like the sign off and everything like that, but that's what they're aiming for. And there was a little bit of grumbling from us enthusiasts about the fact that they're going for the over the shoulder restraints rather than having the lap bars. That was brought up sort of in the discussion about it. And they were very honest, and they said it's not designed for enthusiasts who want to feel like they're being thrown out their seats. This is going to sort of be like a stepping stone bridge roller coaster for families. And so it might be the first time a child ever goes on a roller coaster that inverts, because they don't have any inverting roller coasters there at the moment. I think there's going to be 2 inversions on it. And they said they don't want a child's first experience of it feeling like they're going to be thrown out of their seat, which is absolutely makes sense,
Yeah, I
really.
get it. I'll be honest. I was absolutely shocked that this investment was a Gerstlauer Eurofighter.
Yeah.
I think if you'd given me a bingo card and said, pick which one Paultons are going to put in, a Eurofighter was the last choice. Maybe like some sort of junior Woody. I mean, I'd love to see them put something like that in.
They did say that they would like to do a Woody, but it's
Yeah.
just not in their budget at the moment. But I
Yeah,
don't think I
which I
don't think
get.
it's out of the question. But
I
yeah,
think it would be fitting perfectly. A single rail. I know there's a lot of people getting excited about an RMC. Now, I never thought they were getting an RMC, but I know a lot of people were. And I could kind of see it, one of the single rail ones
Yeah.
going in. Maybe like also a coaster like Max and Moritz at Efteling, like a racing dueling junior coaster. I could have seen that going in.
Yeah.
A Gerstlauer Eurofighter was not
Well,
on my
think
list.
yeah, no, I do understand that, and I think there's a lot of concern that they don't age very well.
Oh, I've got a
Which,
lot of concern of having been on Saw
but
the Ride just a
yes,
few
yes,
days ago.
oh, literally saw. Yeah, no, but I saw the wonderful Diary of a Roller Coaster Girl. Go follow her if you don't know.
I
Everyone
love it. I'm
follows her.
desperate to get her on here. She's so
Yeah.
busy, but I really, really want. If you're listening,
Yeah, please, Charlotte,
call
come
me.
on. Yeah, no, she sort of was discussing it on her Facebook page, and I can't remember which one she was talking about, but she's been on a more modern one.
I think it was one in France, wasn't it?
Possibly,
I think it
possibly.
was.
I'm really rubbish at remembering names and things, but she said that she found it to be better than the older ones. Like the newer generation does seem to be better. So
Yeah,
I trust her opinion completely. There's not many park enthusiasts that I would trust with a stone in my garden, let alone anything else. But Charlotte, I think, is amazing, and if she says it's going to be okay, I'm like, okay, that's
yeah.
cool. She
Okay.
she knows her stuff. So
She absolutely. I mean, her ride count is insane.
yes, yes,
So
exactly.
yeah, yeah. I saw the same post as you, and I did feel slightly reassured. For me, it was just it's a weird choice because I get that they want to bridge this gap between very junior coasters and 1.4 meter B&M Intamin machines,
Mm.
but for me, a vertical lift in itself is very intimidating
Yeah, no, I get that.
for
Yeah,
a younger rider, and that's what kind of made me think, it's a strange and a vertical lift, and it's got is it a vertical or beyond vertical drop that they've?
I think it's a beyond vertical drop as well.
It's an intimidating thing, and I just think that's a slightly strange choice to bridge that gap
Yeah,
with.
but also, again, this was mentioned at the presentation. It's the footprint of getting a roller coaster up high in the minimal amount of space.
Yeah,
Because although the area looks quite big, once you start throwing a roller coaster on there, it's not all that big.
yeah,
And also, I guess they work with Gerstlauer because Cobra is a Gerstlauer bobsled, so that they're working with the manufacturers that they know and have relationships with, and obviously are happy with part supplies. I mean, Cobra's really quite old now, and that still rides really nicely. They are putting the money in to keep it running beautifully, and yeah, it just runs so well. So I think if they are going in on this, I think they will keep the maintenance absolutely top notch. They will be replacing the wheels when they need to be and not letting things get jolty and horrible. I think if they sort of keep doing that, I think it's going to be okay, because they want it to all run well and literally smoothly. So yeah, it is a slightly out there choice. I mean, I think my 13-year-old, he doesn't mind roller coasters, but he's seen Rage at Adventure Island, and he's like, no, I don't want to go on that. I don't like the lift. So yeah, they are going to have a hurdle of getting kids onto it, I think. But again, it's sort of expanding into that slightly, older market with the slightly older children. So yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, but I'm interested to see how it turns out.
Yeah, same. I think one thing we can say is they will theme it beautifully. They're not just
Yes.
going to plonk a Eurofighter down and go, there you go, job done.
Yeah.
Wash your hands with it.
Yeah.
And I think the really important thing is, like you say, is the maintenance of it. And, who knows what maintenance goes on behind the scenes at Rage or Saw the Ride, or, what has led them to be in the conditions that they are in, which to me absolutely are re-rideable. I went on Saw because I might thought I'm going to go on Saw. It is a one and done for me now, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and I don't want roller coasters to feel like that. I want to
No.
re-ride roller coasters. I want to feel like I want to go around again. So, but I'm sure if it can be done, Paultons will do it. And I know that, it's clear from everything you've said and everything I've seen that the love and care that they put into their attractions is really what's setting them apart. So hopefully, like you say, that will work out for them as well. Are we looking at 2026 for that one?
Yes, yeah. So basically, that will be opening May next year. I think I said May, and then at the end of the presentation, they teased like we've got more to tell you, and it looks like they're getting some. They were on the artwork, and I think it's in the top right corner that they've got like a sort of stormy cloud coming in, and then they kind of teased for 2027 something water based. Now, there were lots of ride nerds on there a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of discussion of them looking like Mac footers. So there's
Who knows this stuff?
Well, yeah.
Oh, that's definitely a Mac footer. That one. Now,
Yeah,
come on.
no, there was a lot of that. Looks like a Mac footer to me. It's like just looks like some concrete to me, mate. Yeah, but there is chatter about sort of maybe some kind of Mac water coaster, maybe just sort of outside of the area coming in 2027. And when sort of the Mac name was mentioned, I was looking at the guys doing the presentation so closely, and there was a sort of slight little wry smile on their faces. So maybe, and also that they're putting in accommodation as well. They put in planning permission for accommodation that's sort of coming, and they're sort of mooting that very early days. They're not entirely sure what's happening, but they're sort of earmarking that for around 2030. But they mentioned that they're looking at like having treehouse accommodation and also underground accommodation. Like,
whoa,
what? And that's just mad. So yeah, it seems very exciting at Paultons. The future looks really bright.
It really does. And I'm glad that you had a great time. I'm glad it's kind of reinvigorated you in some ways to the world of theme parks, because, we've all had our bad experiences. And I know you particularly have felt a bit with stuff recently. But
God, yeah.
I think it's given you some of your enthusiasm back, seeing that actually parks can be run well and they can be great places to go. And especially
in the UK.
Yeah, that's... exactly. It's not a UK problem. It's maybe a park problem. So that's fun. We will obviously be following this. I am trying desperately to get someone from Paultons to actually come on and do a full episode with us so that we can really go into the history of the park and how they've got to where they are today. I will of course keep you updated if that is going to happen. I am hopeful, fingers crossed that it might. And we will of course be back next week with another episode. Kev's still not going to be here, but I'll be back here, and we're going to be chatting to Nick Hudson, the theme park music guy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you haven't already, do hit the subscribe button. You'll get a notification when that episode comes out, and if you'd like to leave me a review, I'd be very grateful for it. Till next time though, we've been Parkcast.
Parkcast, the UK's original theme park podcast.